years. I've had a YouTube channel for like 5 years, and this is the first live stream that I've done. So I'm excited. I know that there's going to be some unforeseen difficulties and consequences, but you know what? We're doing it. I'm doing it, and I'm taking it to the next level. This is Alexander A. Manzoni coming to you live from Spokane, Washington with Manzoni in the morning. Hey, doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it live. Okay, we're going to start out with a poem. Okay. We're going to do this the way I like doing it. I like doing it like I am in an actual event. Got the microphone right here. Haven't had any events this year where I've got to go on stage and do all that stuff. Okay, so now I got to do it here. And this is, hopefully I'll be able to do this every week. New poem. Dreaming and screaming, quarantine day number 35. The light hurts my eyes. I wish I could say why. An unexpectedly late night writing as opposed to the usual early morning affair. What are words when they themselves are blurred? These letters fall apart at the seams. It seems to do so, atom by each individual singular atom. No, I am not on hallucinogens, not today anyway. And not while this fucking pandemic is still going on so long. Either way, it's hard to see the screen, perhaps. This is the beginning of another terrifying dream. Oh, why am I so preoccupied with sleep when many of my greatest enemies lie in wait for me there? I want to close my eyes, but I don't want to die again either. I am dreaming and screaming silently. Mouth agape, I am struggling for breath, struggling to scream, struggling to speak, but a smattering of syllables. When I am able, I shall return to the land of the living, where life will conceivably be continuing. All right, now we're going to do another quarantine poem. At the starting line of a new race, quarantine day 36. I am starting to become callous in regard to the pandemic panic outside. The days have run together, running, until they have thus become entangled, a temporal daisy chained to nowhere. I still have yet to meet someone who has actually caught the virus, though numerous accounts on my timeline know a person who knows a person who has either had it, or has died from it. Still, much of the world remains closed, and we don't know when life will regain its previous foothold, though perhaps it shan't. Perhaps we are at the starting line of a new race, a race comprised of rules and routes unfamiliar to our 2020 sensibilities. Yeah, I was doing a poem a day for quarantine, and then quarantine got too long, and I just was like, all right, I gotta take a break. Maybe quarantine will take a break, and then it didn't. Yesterday, the governor of Washington announced that they are shutting down in-person dining in this, the state of Washington. And I know there are a lot of fucked up motherfuckers being pissed off about that, because there's a lot of people out here who don't like being told what to do. In fact, there's so many people who don't like being told what to do that they're going over to Idaho just so they can do what they want to do. And I don't really blame them. I mean, got to go where you can be you, I guess. Even though danger. Do not put anyone in danger. And yeah, just remember that. So let's get this story started that someone will undoubtedly report me for. You know, it's a piece on a satire on gender topics. Okay. It's weird. It's not supposed to be taken too seriously. Okay, don't get your bent out of shape, and don't take excerpts from this out of context because, you know, come on, man. I work hard at this stuff to try to entertain a few people, and if it doesn't entertain you, then just get the hell out of here, okay? It happened over the course of decades. Inch by inch, they gained ground. Black, brown, woman, gay, Jew, slim, transgender, transracial, transspecies, miscellaneous. And the white Christian right of America, their numbers dwindled, cut down from COVID-19 to 45. The opioid, meth overdoses, gang violence, the satanic, apocryphal collective known as Antifa, and a general inability for the white man to get down in the bedroom. The rainbow flags and fiery speeches of Black Lives Matter politicians killed their erections inch by inch. So here we are, San Francisco, year 2045, and we are in what many in the South and Middle America have dubbed the white man's hell. They didn't realize that they were living in the white man's heaven for so long that they took it for granted. Even when they were winning, the politicians terrified little Christian boys and girls with the specter of socialism, that it would kill capitalism. And it did, but really, it was for the better. Better for most, not better for the white man. Once the snowflakes took the Senate, the House, the White House, the Supreme Court, they did all they could to attack those who had spent their entire careers attacking them. They rounded up white podcast and virtual cast hosts, conservative newsmen, runners of white power websites, and Geistbush groups, and imprisoned them, much like their god king, who shall remain nameless as T, whose head was cryogenically frozen and buried in a lead sarcophagus in a top secret Washington, D.C. location. A concentration camp, the illegal aliens, tortured them, experimented on them, the children. Oh, the shoe, it is so wrong when it is on the other foot, isn't it? And here we are on Lee Island. Here they dumped America's remaining Confederate statues. They tore down the original Presium and built an ultra-modern prison around it called Die Incel, also known to inmates and COs alike as the white man's hell. Don't worry, it was an equal opportunity imprisonment of such a wide swath of Caucasianic demographics. It would have to be in San Francisco, within a stone's throw of the Golden Gate Bridge and the RuPaul Memorial. Always his gaze was locked upon the direction of the island so that they would know in their hearts that there would never be hope for escape. Except by force, violent reprisal, rioting. But that required teamwork, and without their god king, they found that there were few left for them to rally behind. The Republicans, they are historical criminals splintered into two groups, the Patriots and the Evangelistics. Then they splintered again into 4 groups, then 8. Now there's something like 24 right-wing political parties, while somehow, despite all the battling and nitpicking by social media, the Democrats only split into 2, the Mods and the Treems. And the Treems had been in power for over 12 years. And America had never looked brighter unless you're whiter. At the rebuilt and fully modernized prison, insurrections were the order of the day. But over time, the white men and their miserable allies were beaten down by those they once attacked, ostracized, broke down, destroyed from outside and from within as well, instilling a prevalent sense of self-hatred from day one in the nursery. Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, natives, Africans, lesbians, furries, inflationists, S&M, doms, subs, whores, fast-talking drag queens, dressed in full prison guard attire, and of course, people from Seattle. Admittedly, they were not altogether experienced with the former powers that be's methods of torture. I mean, rehabilitative methods of interrogation. But they learned, slowly. They learned that it was necessary to keep the evil former masters of reality underfoot, and that was where they tried to keep these male martyrs. Although, what did it mean to be a classically white man in a world such as this? It meant fuckery. In a different time, Mr. Analyst Samuel Sobolowski, 43, denizen of the Ornasius Collective, would have been a high-level corporate executive. Instead of states, our laws and local customs were grouped together into collectives. Not communist collectives, but a lot of these post-capitalists like to compare it to that. Sobolowski was a rude man, abrasive, ill-tempered, and full of himself. so it was only proper that he be relegated to a lifetime of woefully unappreciated customer service behind the compute kiosk at the luscious lips beauty cores of Zilliary San Fran office. What a life he had, being screamed at by overly entitled clients of all shapes and colors. Nothing like video conferencing enraged individuals when their mascara burns clear through their eyelids, or when the full-body fun foundation gets contaminated by the adjacent estrogen vats. They needed someone to blame, and aside from the faceless corporation, the next best person was one of us desk jockeys. Oh, for the days of rock and roll, thought Analyst, fighting his bottom lip. Surrounded by his peers, seated comfortably, Analyst was watching TV on the projection screen of his mind. Sci-Link, they called it. He was viewing the latest season of Drag Queens, the next generation. 12 queens going head-to-head in increasingly outrageous challenges. In this episode, they had to get into full makeup and climbing gear, scale Mount Kilimanjaro, and perform a lip-sync set before a group of scantily clad boy toys, each dressed as the abominable snowman, freezing their buns off in the blistering wind. Spoiler alert, at the end of the episode, Hatam, the bare bottom, literally froze his buns off. Frostbite. Later, they had to remove his gangrenous buttocks with lasers and consequentially a bucket's worth of coarse body hair to boot. I don't appreciate the overt sexualization of the male form, spoke Analyst. He removed his interface helmet and set it down on the coffee table. It jostled the base of a tall cosmopolitan, and it wobbled around, threatening to spill before coming to rest in place. Is that why you've got such a huge stick up your ass? Said his live-in co-worker, Pepita, a gender non-conforming ladyboy who, under no circumstances should you address as such. You need to get with the times, sissy. The times need to get with me, said Analyst. What a disgrace. What a travesty, seeing men reduced to little more than arm candy. And the only men who can catch a break are the ones either dressed as women performing for them or the ones surgically altered to remove their man-itail. Snip, snip. You know the law, said Pepita. No men are allowed to hold office, manage, or run their own business. No voting, no driving, and most of all, no talking when we're watching our stories. Well, that's just not right, Analyst replied. A number of the other viewers in the sanitized and spacious San Francisco County Community Viewing Center began complaining. Some had already taken to social media, recording Analyst's rantings, each adding their own hilarious tagline for their own individual videos. Here is a selection of them. Dumb white man needs to shut up and learn his place. Here's why men aren't allowed to vote no more. See? Close your damn mouth and make us girlies a sando. The more you open your mouth, the uglier you get. Why don't you smile more? It doesn't matter what right is, said neighborhood Archon First Class Delvinius Machengo. What matters is that you're disrupting our recreational community, me time. Then Analyst did what he never, ever should have done. He spoiled the ending. Both Hamfister Harriet and Dill Donatella are going home tonight, Analyst announced. I saw it got leaked on Twitter. And that was all he needed to say. One by one, those seated in their comfy vibrating chairs arose to their feet and marched over towards Analyst with blood-curdling avarice in their eyes. How dare you, said a white man-turned-black woman named Odiyambe, wearing a tall and colorful headdress that meant that she was obligated to sit in the front row and consequentially in front of him. Get him. The first indication was to rush Analyst, tar and feather him, string him up by the head of his penis and let him dangle, helpless until his own body self-amputated his ding-dong. So the American people truly did learn civility after the fall of the Republican elite. Not really. No, said Pepita, I've got a better idea. She went to an electronic clipboard on the wall and ripped off a piece of virtual semi-corporeal paper. Let's file a formal complaint with the High Council. That'll show him who's boss around here. Do we really want to do that? Asked Odayambe. Oh, of course, said Mittens, a hermaphroditic woman presenting cat thing. Morale, we've sent men into exile for less. Indeed, said Pepita, turning her gaze to Anlis. Why can't I have a say in this? I asked. Shut up, said Odayambe. Women are talking. It took years of petitioning before Anlis could reserve a spot at the community center. But being the man he was, he forgot himself almost immediately upon entry. Morale, is that the testosterone flooding his brain, causing him to act a fool? Asked Mittens. That's always the excuse with their kind, said Pepita. I am making my stand here, said Anlis. Good luck with that, Pepita commented, turning up her rebuilt and restructured fake nose. The Policeum arrived in what seemed like record time. All they had to do was stay there, say there was a hostile male ruining TV time for a group of fultizens. As a male, Anlis was only a partisan, and as such was only entitled to 1% of the rights attributed to the rest of the population. The arriving officer was a tall, stacked, gorgeously broad-shouldered woman, Deputy Olga Raniarelli, half Italian and half Swedish. Her uniform was spotless, so was her record. She marched up to the door and threw it open. It struck the wall behind it with a loud bang before sheepishly closing behind her as she advanced towards the hubbub. Oh, what's the problem? Said Raniarelli. This man is being disruptive, said Odayambe. I see, said Raniarelli. She turned to me, huffing and puffing, making her chest seem bigger than it actually was. Why don't we take this outside then, eh, sir? If I was a woman, you would listen to me, shrieked Anlis. I would, too. She chortled lightly while shaking her head. The deputy grabbed Anlis by the wrist and jerked him down, pulled his arm around his back, and twisted it into a submission hold. We tried to be nice, said Raniarelli, but no, you men, you always have to ruin it for everybody. We were notified previously that you had the nerve to sit up front, and we were going to overlook that transgression. But I guess that's all out of the window port now. The deputy grabbed him by the wrist harder and slapped on a pair of kinetic cuffs. No escape from those. No. One of these days, screamed Anlis, my people shall rise again. Men, do you hear me? We shall rise and cast off these shackles of intolerance and oppression. Anlis was met with a collective shrug from the folks of the community center. All in all, they were glad to be rid of him. There were plenty of men on the waiting list who would kill to be in his position. But not now. They stepped out into the downpour. Crystal clear rain, no acid, no smog, no worries. Thanks to the women folk, the environment became suspiciously clean. Future generations took precedence over immediate corporate industrial profits. Still, the rainfall conveyed a horrific sense of dread within Anlis's soul. Didn't matter whether the rain was poisonous or not. Those damned everybody but straight males, they engineered the pollution right out of the sky. And they didn't even try to profit from it. What a disgrace to the memory of tyrannical men long dead. I hope this was worth it, said Raniarelli, dragging Anlis along. It probably wasn't, I said, but I'm glad I'm getting it out of my system. You're not going to be glad when I lock your ass up. She turned to face Anlis while driving at a decidedly frenetic pace. And your cock. Wouldn't be the first time, said Anlis. Probably wouldn't be the last either. Yeah, well, I'd keep a lid on it when you appear in front of the magistrate. They don't like uppity cisgendered malians. I am standing up for what's right, Anlis spoke, becoming more and more red-faced and flustered with each syllable. Like Rosa Parks. You? Began Raniarelli. Oh, wait. Oh, my goodness. You think that you're like Rosa Parks? I am standing up for my right to sit wherever I so please, whether it be in the community center, at Spiritua, at the hall of consumption, on the tram rail, on the air car, anywhere. Whap! Ranieri lowered the vehicular force shield separating law officer and criminal. He did so in an instant. Then he pointed a polished black baton towards the back of the car at Analyst's face. Pressing a button atop its precipice, a concentrated jolt of current burst out the other end and sent Analyst into immediate convulsions. "Ow!" complained Analyst. "I biffed my tongue." He didn't just bite it, he chomped it into oblivion. The tip of it was hanging by a thread. "Maybe that's what'll shut you up, Malian. Didn't you used to be a man like me?" asked Analyst, blood trickling down his chin. "Regrettably," said Ranieri, "but now I'm free of the confines of maleness, thanks to a lot of love and support from my familiarium. No penis, no problem." At the thought, Analyst's own anger shrank away. He crossed his legs and sat on himself for protection while the deputy rocketed down the highway in the police-only lane at 100 miles per hour. They were due to arrive at the downtown precinct in record time. Endless was dragged in. His face was pale, bloodless. Most of it had ended up on his shirt, his pants, his shoes, everything. Ranieri drove up around back. He hit a button on the ceiling panel and the foreboding metal door lurched open as if it were a mouth ready to swallow us all. "Damn it, asshole," said Ranieri. She grabbed Analyst by the cuffs and jerked him out of the vehicle, sprawling out into the parking lot. "Look at this mess you made. Men!" "I'm sorry," said Analyst, bleeding. The deputy scoffed and beckoned him to get up with a repeated snapping of fingers. "Let's get you booked," said she. "My shift is just about over, and I'm ready to clock out." Analyst groaned in the affirmative. Within the belly of the precinct, a huge line stretched out down the hallways, around bends, snaking around turns, down steps, up ladders. This was the queue, or line if you're American. "Can't I go to medical?" pleaded Analyst. "No, not until we've searched you and have determined that you're not a carrier of COVID-45. "I swear I've never been diagnosed with..." Ranieri delivered a punishing haymaker to the back of Analyst's head. Then she grabbed him by the hair and said, "If you want to live through the night, you do well to shut the fuck up and mind yourself, Malian." Instead of saying yes, Analyst nodded in the affirmative, consequentially peppering the area with blood spatter. Ranieri gritted her teeth together, and pushed through to the head of the line. "I've got a bleeder," said she. Not that she cared. It was merely an end to get rid of annoying Analysts. On a normal day, Ranieri would have been fine with letting her perp bleed to death. There were a few cops at the front desk. They were showing each other different pages from their virtual fashion magazines. One was clearly a female, post-menopausal and angry at the universe. Another, a man turned genderless turned dragon, quote unquote. The last one was a female presenting multi-gendered automaton. She may have been the most normal out of the whole lot. "We need to get back there," said Ranieri, "to see Dr. Croker." "Yes," said Analyst. Then he stopped himself when the arresting officer glared at him in a disconcerting manner that may have caused him to pee a little. Is that his tongue?" said the angry woman. "That is sickening." "No, take him to the clinician," said the dragon person, waving us along. "Thanks, Drake." "Oh, thanks, Drake," said Ranieri. She took Analyst behind the desk and they buzzed him through. "I'll catch you after my shift. I haven't forgotten that you all owe me an old-fashioned new style." "I'll be looking forward to it," said Drake. Bzz. The hallways were filled with misery, angry cons, even angrier correction officers. Everyone at the top of the food chain were busy beating down those perceived to be beneath them. The first thing analysts saw was a naked hermaphrodite being chased by a Malian trustee with a hot pink push broom. "I'll get you," said the trustee. "You dirty sea rag. I'm editing myself now. This is the last time you disrespect me, you hear?" The hermaphrodites stopped in their tracks and threw a rubber glove chock full of excreta, seminal fluid, urine, and anything else they might have included, such as an open packet of mustard and a dollop of what smelled like Reginald's Roachaway. "Gah!" screamed the trustee, thrashing about, consequently scattering a rain of filth all over. "Excuse me, Tervis," said Ranieri. Instead of assisting the inmate being assaulted, she laughed at him. You know, my hands are tied." "Yeah, well, fuck you too, Ran, you smelly," said Tervis. He flipped to the bird. Ranieri returned the favor, and then they continued onward. Analyst and his captor ascended the stairs. Ranieri goaded Analyst ahead, every so often jabbing him in the small of his back with the electrified baton. Analyst had a million questions. The only problem was that he was unable to communicate properly in his current physical state. He was going to have to wait for a while. When they reached the clinic, Ranieri shoved Analyst off his feet onto his buttocks. "Welcome," said a computerized voice. "Please present your optic orbs for entry." Ranieri leaned forward, keeping one eye wide open for the scanner. A small red laser passed over his cornea thrice before it let loose with a favorable beep, and the large metal doors painted with a red cross swung open. There was a nurse at the kiosk. A Malian convict was yammering, talking her ear off, and it was clear that she had just about had it. "What do you want?" said the nurse to the new arrivals. She pushed the excited Malian up front to the side with a collapsible pole. He fought against it, so she struck him about the face and shoulders and retreated back to bed, or until he retreated back to bed. "Hello, nurse practitioner Gouger. I'm here to drop off a new arrival," said Ranieri. "This idiot fucked himself up pretty bad." "Yeah," answered Gouger, rolling her eyes. "So what?" "So I've got a beat to get back to," said Ranieri. "Take this belligerent hunk of man meat right away. Treat him and stick him in a cell so I can hightail it out of here before doomsday." Said Gouger. "All right, I guess, but you owe me." "You inmates don't appreciate the amount of work I have to do in order to process everybody," said Ranieri, turning her back to Analyst. "It doesn't stop. Nope. Unbelievable." Then she lifted a middle finger and waved it in my face. Ranieri switched the kinetic cuffs out for a classic set of irons. She locked them tight at the ankles and wrists, attaching it to a chain belt before leaving the perp behind, before giving Analyst these parting words. "See you in court, fuckface." "Have a nice day, officer," said Analyst. "Take care." Ranieri handed Gouger a file and made her exit, but not before she let out a terrific fart that echoed through the hallways. Since she was technically a woman now, the fart was immediately blamed upon Analyst. "Come on, you degenerate gas bag," said Gouger. "I guess we'll have the doc take a look at that tongue of yours when she's good and ready." The meta-technician saw to him. Gouger asked Analyst questions while a young-ish vixen named Caroline took his vitals. "Oh, it's a good thing they brought you in when they did," said Caroline, examining the hanging tongue. "Yeesh, that's disgusting." "It's not so bad," Analyst replied, causing the afflicted end of his tongue to dangle akin to a piñata in a light zephyr. Zephyr. Caroline held up a machine that resembled a supercharged garage door opener and brought it up towards Analyst's mouth. Put your tongue in here. Analyst tried to, but kept missing the insertion point. Oh, come on. Oh, come on, complained Goosier. She leaned over him, dangling her pendulous, unrestrained by brassiere breasts in his eyes. Judging from the scars, it seemed like Goosier had had a sex change within the last few years. Of course. Then she snatched his tongue half between her begloved index and middle finger and held it steady. Caroline moved the machine into place and pressed a huge yellow button at its center. Ah! Cried Analyst. Wait, my tongue works again. He opened and closed his mouth. Smacking his lips, the tongue was fixed. No lisp either, said he. That's fantastic. Don't go wagging your jaw all willy-nilly, said Goosier. There's still a chance that the bio stitches won't hold, so don't push yourself, and that means keep a lid on it when they bring you to your cell. I realize how difficult it must be to adapt to a new situation like this, but either way, you're here, and until you're either released or transferred, there isn't much you could do about it. She forced Analyst's mouth open with her fingers, and with side eyes, inspected it. That tongue of yours can be removed just as well as it can be fixed. Don't worry your pretty little head about it. Goosier went over to a nearby standing kiosk and brought the machine out of sleep mode. Check his prostate, said Goosier to Caroline. Caroline nodded with vigor and snapped on a headlamp as if she were about to go spelunking. And in a way, she did. Ugh. What are you doing? I exclaimed, tensing up everywhere, bottom to top. In response, Caroline stuck me in the rump with a huge hypo dripping with pink fluid. Don't worry, said Goosier, staring me down with wide, dead eyes. That's simply a paralytic. It allows our technicians to do their work without your sphincter causing any additional issues. Analyst said, wincing. Good? He was directed to an exam table. He undressed and put on a paper gown that only covered his genitals with a long strip that descended past his testicles. Analyst climbed up on the table and glanced around nervously. Caroline bent him over and put him into a doggy-style position. As Analyst's muscles froze and he lost the ability to move, a bizarre medical procedure ensued. To him, it felt like Goosier and Caroline were digging around him for an hour. The reality was, it was at max half of that time. But time slows down when you're experiencing such an awkward and uncomfortable situation. Analyst wished he were elsewhere, imagining himself on a Strato cruise liner, high up in the atmosphere, soaking up cosmic radiation, sucking down manly drinks, wearing little else but a tight banana hammock and a black mesh tank top. But it wasn't a wish that was to come true. Each device they brought out was larger, more confounding, and more medieval than the last. The first being a small flexible hose with an electric eye at one end. The next was a speculum that had the words Goosier's ass spreader engraved on its handle. After that, it was a small football-shaped object that once inserted, well, never mind. Once done, Goosier abruptly ripped the thing out and called in a request with the nearest secure station to have Analyst picked up. If Analyst could have moved, he would have screamed for dear life. As he was beginning to regain movement, a pair of correction officers with their sleeves rolled up arrived at the doorway. Time to go to your cell, man whore, said the leftmost one. She was butch, crew-cut, mustachioed with a 5 o'clock shadow. Don't you try to pull anything funny, said the other, more feminine, slightly, except in the face, where it was obvious the person was once a man. We're also going to have to rough you up, and if that means soiling my jeté Corinthian leather fingerless gloves, then so be it. Yes, ma'ams, Analyst said, jaw loosening somewhat. He had to disregard his internal rage. It wouldn't serve him to misbehave, but it was quickly becoming evident that keeping a lid on it was going to be a trial. He found himself imagining his hands wrapped around their necks. After an extended struggle, he envisioned throwing them all off the top of a building. But the more feminine guard twisted Analyst's arm and pressed it against the small of his back. The other inspected his body. Nothing like being seen as a piece of meat. Analyst found himself wondering what it was like back when men ruled the world with impunity. It must have been nice, for them anyway, but now that world was all but forgotten, and the world now, it wasn't for him, nor would it ever be. Hope you're enjoying your morning. This is the first Manzoni in the Morning Live show. I just finished reading a short story, The White Man's Hell. It is a satire, so if you came in like halfway, know that it's not like meant to be taken seriously. It's inspired by the works of folks like Kurt Vonnegut. You know, you have like these science fiction style stories that kind of highlight social issues, and that's what I wanted to do with that. So that was cool. I really enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to reading more of these short stories for you. And hopefully I won't get taken down or reported, you know, because I try to lay it all out on the table. Look, it's going to offend some people, not for everyone. Parental guidance recommended. Okay? Recommended. I'm not going to censor myself, even though I did censor myself during this live stream. But I'm going to try not to censor myself because that's part of my appeal, okay? I'm trying to be real in this whole world of social media where you have all these people trying to sell makeup and all this BS. Like, oh, look at me. Oh, I'm one of the Kardashians. Like, no, man, no. You are not the shit. I mean, you are because you got money, but you're not the shit to me. So I think that there needs to be more real people online doing real things. You know, I've been doing this for years with Manzoni in the morning, and it has been a blast, even if it has seemed like pissing in the wind a lot of times, you know. But this is where you're going to come to get your news about the writing community in Spokane, and you're going to hear new stories, new poetry. You're going to hear a little bit of harmonica action. Doom, doom, doom. I love my harmonicas. And, you know, as we get more stuff or more people working on this, I'm hoping that I'm going to get some money to be able to do my my claymation stuff again. That is, like, my claymation video is my most liked video on TikTok, but that one took the longest to make, you know. I really like that stuff, though. I just kind of like one day was like, ooh, I want to make some clay figures. And then I was like, ooh, I bet I could animate these. And then I did. So that's really cool. So know that even if you aren't trained in something, you could still figure out how to do it. And, you know, you might discover something new about yourself. I mean, I've got Graves' disease and arthritis and stuff, so it's more difficult for me to do the making models and stuff because my hands hurt so bad. And it's like I can only get a little bit done, you know. I got my keyboards, I got my my writing shit where I'm typing all the time, I got my housework, I got my PlayStation. So, you know, I always have to kind of substitute one thing for another. Like more recently, I've been doing more of the writing the novels and the short stories and stuff. But then last year I was doing more of the poetry, and sometimes I'd be like, ooh, I'm going to make like an experimental short film or something. And those videos are on my YouTube that you can find. Google Alexander Manzoni Spokane, and you will find the hundreds and hundreds of videos I've been making over these years. So I'm going to keep making more videos, and I'm going to keep churning them out. You know, we're going to have these shorter TikTok clips, and they're going to have these long-form live streams and videos. Now, this is the first look for the new episode of Manzoni in the Morning, because I usually record it, and then I spend a couple days editing it, and then I release it with, like, you know, some text and little transitions and shit like that. So this is a first look at the new episode, you know, unfiltered, unedited. I don't come up here with a script. I don't do, maybe I will one day, but I'm not now. I just get out here and just let it all hang out. Let it all hang out. Man. Do another poem. Gnawing. Quarantine day 45. Gnawing, the feeling it exists at the pit of the stomach, and it grows exponentially. By the moment, neither pharmaceuticals, nor extracts, nor tinctures, nor elixirs can serve to alleviate what troubles me. Is it physical, or is it something else? Something deep within. I wish to exit my skin and live. Live a life that I never thought to be possible. Do everything that every person who ever encountered told me I couldn't do. Where is my truth? Is it in thine guts, available or awaiting the inevitable alien autopsy? This darkness, this evil, it gnaws at me. It tries to convince me that life would be better served elsewhere. Not on this planet, anyway. It wants me to be impulsive, compulsive, destructive, while it obstructs my viscera. The gnawing, biting, shredding, grinding, 'tis only a matter of time before I become transparent. Whenever a bright light so shines upon me, I am gnawed from within by what? Rats, by parasites, by my own anatomy? Why don't you tell me? I have a lot of health problems, and my stomach hurts almost constantly, so that the gnawing is about, you know, my stomach bleeding issues. And that's kind of a fun thing to wake up to every once in a while. But doing pretty good today. I'm usually doing pretty good when I'm doing my podcast, or my videos, you know, and writing. It's like when I stop that everything catches up with me. And then I realize, oh, shit, I really feel like hell. How the fuck did I do that podcast without having to take a break somewhere? I don't know. But I used to have a live poetry show on First Avenue in Spokane at the Artsy Gallery before they closed, and I would do 4 to 6 hours worth of poetry. And my short stories, I would just do back to back, reading, boom, 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 poem after poem. They made me a little theater at Artsy. It was called the Manzoni Theater, and people would come in during the art shows, and would come and check out my stuff, and it was awesome. Until the art gallery was shut down because some jerk got into a disagreement with them, so they called the fire department and reported them for not having a permit, which, you know, if you're going to host events and stuff like that, like big public gatherings and things like that, you should get a permit. Although that doesn't mean shit now, because nobody can have anything thanks to this disease. So we got to stamp it out, get to kick COVID's ass. Hashtag kick COVID's ass, all right? Beat it down to the floor, kick it out the window, and then say, no more, you son of a bitch. We are going to live life on our own terms again. Yeah, right. I mean, I hope so. I hope we can return to our old lives. But if not, I'm adapting. You know, instead of booking shows to do, I am booking myself to do these live streams. And instead of sending out my poetry to other people to say, oh, well, in 6 to 8 months, be like, oh, okay, well, we don't want this, you know, or they might want it, but then by then it was about like a current event that's kind of like an old event. So I made a decision that unless I specifically find something I really want to send something into, I am going to save my poems and my short stories for this podcast. You know, I'm saving it for you instead of having to debut it somewhere else, and then it'll be like a year old by the time you get to hear it. Hashtag real talk. All right? Let's get another, man. So, yeah, Thanksgiving is apparently canceled in Spokane. They don't want anyone coming over to your house that you're not already living with. So that sounds great. I don't know how they're going to do this. I don't know how they're going to keep people from visiting their families on Thanksgiving, you know? And, I mean, come on. But I'm not saying to go against it. I'm just saying that it's going to piss a lot of people off. I'm sure there's tons of people on Facebook right now complaining, this is what happens when you reelect a Democratic governor. He's going to shut this state down. Well, the state is shut down. But, you know, they're talking about shutting the whole country down. And maybe they should have did that months ago and we wouldn't be where we're at now. I know that my people, my friends, never catch any of this stuff because they go by protocol. They wear the damn masks and shit. So, of course, I don't know anybody that's caught the COVID. You know, it's usually these other people who are like, oh, let's go to a rally. Ooh, you know, I'm going to protest the masks by going down and yelling at people. Let's get real close to each other and yell in each other's faces. Get a nice smell of that breath. I don't know. Point is, yes, you may be pissed off about a lot of stuff right now, but, you know, you could just go online and complain about it. You don't need to go to the streets and spread the virus around more and then get mad when they crack down more on us. Okay. This was a poem I wrote the 30th day of quarantine. This is called Undeterred. I wake up screaming. What else is new? Undeterred, I continue to hunt for the hidden truths. I have to lose before the win sometimes, even before I begin. Quarantine day 30, an entire month more or less. Here be the test of our endurance, our willpower, our fortitude. Enjoy the comfort of your homes, if or not if you're living with abusive assholes. Do you exfoliate, relax, or at least try to? Don't sweat the small stuff and don't become fixated on unhealthy delusions or any potential psychoses lurking around the bend. If your friends turn their backs on you, let me extend to you an encouraging hand. Take it, reflect upon the moment, be truthful to others, and especially to yourself. There's another poem. Good morning, fair warning. Good morning, fair warning. Anything can happen today or tomorrow, next week, next month, year, decade. And will we be thoroughly prepared for what shall happen? If the past few months are any indication, no. Our world is turned upside down instead of a simple turnaround. We are at the cusp of a new era for this country. Though will it be for good or ill, I do not know, nor do any of us truly. We'll have to see what transpires over the course of these next months and make a note not to listen to the gilded yet poisonous tongues of politicians. It's hilarious. I mean, I wrote that when it was just a month of quarantine. So now we're at like year one. I don't know. I'm losing track of time with all this stuff going on. Thank God I've got my podcast. I got the writing. You got to get an outlet to do stuff, you know, whether it be, I don't know, cooking, knitting, making models, playing board games. Got to do something. You can't just sit around and just do your doom scrolling on your phone and just wait for the end of the world to come. Although, admittedly, that's what I kind of have been doing for this past year. But hopefully, these next couple of months, I'm going to work out, and then I'm not even going to be paying attention to the news so much anymore because I won't be throwing a fit every 5 seconds, waking up wanting to kick the door down and jump off a cliff. Speaking of which, we must survive the slings and arrows. We must survive through this time. We must. There is no other choice but to try. We must dodge the far-flung projectiles thrown by societal slings and arrows. Some follow instructions to a T, while others run outside clutching their carbines to their chests. They're strapped with bulletproof vests, poor educations, bad attitudes, and a Christian right that accentuates their inherent worst qualities. May common sense triumph over the machinations of obstinate stupidity. Now, I'm not making fun of you if you're a conservative, because if you're conservative and watching my live stream, then I like you, all right? Let's just never talk about politics with one another, shall we? Let's just talk about the virus. This is called I Am the Virus. I am the virus. I exist in the air, on surfaces, on your clothes. Oh no. Pseudopods a go-go. I crawl into your visceral open holes. What happens next is anyone's guess. Either you're going to become deathly ill or you're not going to notice it at all. You try to continue on with your lives, traveling, shopping, walking, riding, jogging, carrying it from here to church afterwards, to the liquor store, then to the bank, to the sports stadium, to the mall. Know what, chums? Your precious border wall will never save you from these foreign invaders. But whatever shall we do? Test, everybody. That should have been apparent from the start, but instead our political pals would rather not have widespread testing. That way the public never really knows for sure how many cases there were. Make it seem like we're doing great compared to the rest of the planet, when it's the polar opposite of what the actual truth truly is. I know the breadth and depth of your scheme, says an informed voter. You will not deceive me. Not anymore. Why, I anticipate your many deceptions. Your money-hungry, uncaring evil has taught me many lessons. If only the rest of the nation realized they'd been had. Instead, they've got their heads jammed between the cheeks of their own stinking assholes, smelling their own internal flatulence, the scope of their true personalities, and tomorrow morning soon to be lip-bitingly painful, bathroom-blasting shit bombs. Listen to their songs as they rant and scream and make promises to whatever end they see fit to lie about. That informed voter on an irritable rant, I took offense, and thus took him out for good. Drowned him where he stood without the need to submerge anything. I am the virus. And thus, I will invade you. I will take whatever I deem to be mine, and that is no lie. This damn virus. I need the world to come back, go back to normal so I could write about something else. Either I'd be pissed off about politics or pissed off about the friggin' COVID shit. No, we got to keep moving. Got to keep living. Got to keep loving. I'm going to read my TikTok poem, which I may have read before on Manzoni in the morning, but it's for my first live stream. So I'm going to close it out with this. Obviously, now we're saying that it's not going to be, they're not going to be banning the app so much, although they might, they always could. So this was right after I'd heard that they were going to ban TikTok in America. Tick-tock, tick-tock, the bell tolls for thee. The countdown continues until the voices of a generation become all but silenced. The powers that be, the old white male patriarchy is out for your blood. Mostly because a few outstanding users trolled the president, reserved seats at the Tyrant King's rallies so that wide swaths of the arena would be bare. They're banning you soon. No one in America shall be able to download you, proud program. They want freedom for themselves, freedom of speech to spout as much hate as they desire, but not freedom for you, because you're not on their side, screaming, frothing at the mouth, demanding a new fascist autocracy without knowing what the individual words mean. Freedom to intimidate, to march through town with guns drawn, hanging Nazi flyers they're turning up all over in Spokane, while touting the specter of this so-called Antifa. For fear is the name of the game. Incite fear. Incite the white Christian right's deep-seated craving for persecution. And if there's nothing to be persecuted over, they'll find something and twist it around for their own ends. Freedom only matters for the white landowners, straight as an arrow, churchgoers, following godless men who think they are God or gods. Freedom only goes as deep as the color of one's skin. The police are fighting for freedom, freedom to brutalize and slay with impunity. No accountability unless you're brown, black, yellow, or liberal. Then it's time to nail you all to the cross burning on the White House lawn. Our Republican leadership is so far gone, I suspect they've been replaced by aliens, reptilians, foul lizards forged from the afterbirth of the Garden of Eden's resident Satan serpent. May we carry them out screaming with the gravity of our votes. They will cry foul. They already are. Everything is a fraud except we, the villainous patriarchy, are doing and saying right now. They can take our apps, but they can never take our spirits. We continued forward with our heads held high. The next app of the week should be just around the corner. I'd like to thank everyone who joined me. I'll try to do this every week at Monday. I'll let you know if anything else comes up. But for now, this is Manzoni saying Manzoni loves you, even if he doesn't especially agree with whatever you're doing. And that my message is one of tolerance. Tolerance for all races, creeds, colors. You know, why can't we all just get along and then some? All right. My heart goes out to you and your families for this fucked up holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all of it, you know, and I hope everyone survives, thrives, and maybe discovers something new about themselves. Thank you. This is Manzoni in the Morning, signing out. Yeah, that's it. Show's over, folks.